All right, clase, we're going to be moving on to section 2, así se dice dos, okay, like we started last Friday. This section has to deal with your schedule at school, where and when things happen and take place. We've already learned how to express where using the classroom number or the location on campus. And so now you'll be able to express at what time each of these things happen, okay? So while you're paying attention to this presentation, you're going to want to be on page 6 of your packets, okay? And fill in the blanks of the notes as we go, okay? So I'll give you a second to turn there, page 6, en tus paquetes, okay? If you don't have it, perhaps write it on a separate sheet of paper or copy it from a partner later on. Okay, so telling time in Spanish, we're going to be using this phrase, which is part of your vocab. It says, a qué hora. Okay, this phrase is asking at what time. At what time does your class start, for example? Okay, some of you that have had Spanish before may have learned the phrase qué hora es, and that is simply just asking what time is it? What time is it right now? Okay, so this, what we're learning here, has to do more with a specific time. At what time does something start, does something finish, etc. We're looking for a specific time, okay? So you guys pretty much already know how to tell time in Spanish because you know numbers. So all we're going to learn now is the format in which you'll express those numbers. Okay, so go ahead and fill these in. So to tell what time an event happens, we use this phrase. We use a la or a las, depending, and then we insert the number. Okay, so a la or a las plus whatever the number is. So for example, a las dos, at 2 o'clock. Okay, now when to use la and when to use las. Okay, so the phrase la is going to be used with all times that start with 1 o'clock. Okay, 1 o'clock is considered a singular noun and will be expressed as una, not uno. Okay, because remember in Spanish, the noun, which in this case is una, has to match the article, which is singular feminine, la una. Okay, so don't say la uno, because that doesn't quite match. Okay, so la for 1 o'clock. All other times, though, 2 through 12, you will use las, plural. Okay, so las with all other numbers, a las dos. They're considered plural nouns here. Okay. Now, there's 2 other little shortcuts you need to know. The first is this. Go ahead and say this with me, clase. Y media. I couldn't hear you. Do it again. Y media. Okay. This phrase is used to express when something is at the 30 mark, when it's half past the hour. Okay, so it's 2:30, for example. You would say 2:30 instead of 2:30. Okay, you could use 30, that would still make sense, but it's just more common and easier to use y media. Okay, so get in the habit of using that. Okay, so y media is when something is half past. Now another one that you'll want to use is this. Go ahead and say this with me, clase. Y cuarto. Okay, this is used to express when something is a quarter of an hour, so 15 minutes, either before or 15 minutes after an hour. Okay, so at the 15 mark, either 15 before or 15 after the hour is when you will use y cuarto. Okay, now don't get cuarto confused with the number 4, which is cuatro. Okay, cuarto, cuatro. They're different. I know they sound similar, but they're also spelled differently. This is cuarto, C-U-A-R-T-O. Cuatro, the T and the R are switched. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, here is a clock, picture of a clock. Go ahead and fill this in as I fill it in on here. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to draw a line down the middle of the clock, cutting it in half. Okay, now let's look at a particular time. So let's look at 10:20. For example, that'll be the first time we're dealing with, okay? So notice that the hour hand, which is the shorter hand, is at 10, and the minute hand, which is the longer one, is at 20, okay? So When the minute hand, which is the longer one, is between 0 and 30, which it is here on this side of the clock, okay, you're going to be using the phrase y, okay, and, okay, just like 32, 30 and 2, okay, so same thing with time, all right, so let's look at 10:20, for example. A las 10:20 is how you would express 10:20 here, okay? So, E for minute hand that's between 0 and 30, okay? Now on the flip side, let's change this to 10:40, for example, okay? In this case, you're going to essentially be expressing it's 20 till 11. So, in order to do that, you use this phrase, which is menos, okay? Menos. So, in this case, for 10:40, instead of saying a las 10, okay, we're going to round up to the next hour, which is 11, and we would say a las 11 menos 20, okay, which is saying it's 20 minutes until 11, okay, or 11 minus 20 minutes, okay? So it's just like saying 20 till, all right? So 0 through 30, you're going to use E for the minutes, and then on this side, you would use menos to express the minutes and subtract from the next hour, okay? It's not to say that you couldn't say son las 10:40, that's okay, but it's just more common to use menos by rounding up to the next hour, okay? Let's look at another time, like let's say it's 10 to 11, or 5 till 11, okay? You could say son las 10:55, which would be 10:55, but it's a little bit long, so it would just be easier to say son las 11 menos 5, 11 minus 5, okay? So, you guys are going to practice this a little bit right now, okay? So what I want you to do is get out a blank sheet of paper, okay? This is something you will turn into me, okay, for credit. So on a blank sheet of paper, you're going to write a sentence for each of your classes that contains the following information for each one. Okay, be sure you follow the model that I've included down below. Okay, so look at your schedule for today. Today is Wednesday. You only have 5 classes. There's only 5 sentences that you'll write. Okay, actually that's not true. I want you to include break and lunch in that. Okay, so there'll be more. I want you to write out a sentence that includes the name of the class, okay, which you have all the class names in your vocab, what time the class starts using the format we just learned, and then what room the class is in. Okay, so for example, down here I have tengo matemáticas a las 3 menos cuarto en el aula 101. Okay, so I've expressed the class title, I've expressed the time in which it happens, and then I've expressed the classroom in which it occurs. Okay, so once you've done this for all 6 of the time slots that you have today, 7 including break and lunch actually, I want you to record your responses to Flipgrid. The flip code for each class is listed on the board. Okay, you can step outside and do this if it's quieter, or you can do this in the classroom, but I'll be grading you on how accurately you pronounce each of the class names and times. Okay, so go ahead and take the rest of the class period to complete this assignment. If you, for some reason, can't finish in class here, do finish it for homework by 8 a.m. on Thursday. Okay, so we'll do some more practice with time next class period, and we'll see how you guys do. See you tomorrow.